Welcome to the Architect of Resilience podcast, where we explore the secrets of overcoming life's challenges and unlocking unstoppable strength through deep personal conversations and expert insights.
Tamara, how was the weekend, the deadlift party and fundraiser? How'd that go?
It was a good time. Yeah, and Exile allowed me to bring in a DJ and we had a 360 machine. It was fun. It was fantastic.
I thought I knew how to deadlift party, but you've taken it up a notch. But for sure, you're my spirit lifter. When I think about like intensity and vibration and just motivation, like I just get so inspired every time. Not the lift, just like watching a video of you speaking and such. And that, well, it's easy to do an intro and talk about like your accolades, being a motivational speaker, TEDx speaker, a holistic coach, like all your records, deadlift queen, show appearances, all that sort of stuff. But how would you introduce yourself without the resume, without, the accolades, but thinking about who are you? What are your values, and how are those related to impacting the world?
All right. I'm a beacon.
So they say introduce yourself as it relates to that. Who are you?
I am Tamara, born and raised on the island of St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands. I grew up, they called me Bubbles. That was my nickname growing up. But I was known to my family as Tammy. Always been strong all my life. My grandmother used to call me her little Kala champion. I don't even know if that's a word. But she said I would come into the house like a little wrecking ball all the time. I'd be moving chairs around when I was little, just heavy chairs, being able to push things. But I would say I show up as a beacon. Like I walk into a room and knowing no one, and I walk out of a room knowing everyone. That I have an infectious personality. I'm definitely one of those people that are able to talk to anyone from any walk of life. And I just kind of am a social butterfly. So I'm definitely an infectious personality, social butterfly, and I'm a family-oriented individual. So when it comes to my family, my kids, I'm like a mama bear. So definitely that's Tamara in a nutshell, just loving on the people in her life and just showing up for the people that are there and trying to add more light to other people's lives as well.
I love that. That's when I see you, and like I even see like you're lifting, to me, you're not a lifter first. Like that is the expression of like your personality and like sharing, excitement. That's my perception, outward perception. That's why I love watching you, lift and do what you do so much. So, you talked about family there, and I know that you've got some in-depth speaking pieces as it relates to being a mother, being resilient, mindset. How long have you been doing that, and what are some of the key components that you're trying to share or instill with people?
I've been a mother before I was a mother. A lot of people don't know that. Like I've been a mother before I was a mother because I actually raised two of my little cousins. When I moved to Maryland, I moved here with my 6-year-old cousin. Unfortunately, her family, her uncle, her mom, my uncle, her mom, the mom and the dad both were on drugs. So unfortunately, they couldn't raise her. So she actually grew up with us as an infant. I grew up in the household with my grandmother. We moved here and I took her with me. So I raised her until she was 17 and she went back to the Virgin Islands to graduate. And then her older sister moved up here. Her younger sister moved up here when she was 15. So I had her from 15 to 17. And then I had my Makita from 6 to 17. So I was a mom before I was truly a mom. There's even more layers to that. I think kind of who I was and who I was cultivated to be because I've always been taking care of people. I'm a middle child. My younger brother has sickle cell anemia. So we were in elementary school together. And back in the day, people didn't know what sickle cell was. So they would always pull me from class when he had a pain crisis to kind of figure out like what's going on or how to help him throughout the day. So I've always been a nurturer from the time that I can remember.
Wow.
Just defending my my younger brother and taking care of him. And then my older sister, who was more quiet, I was a little bit more boisterous. So if anytime anyone did anything to her, I'm like, who did it to you? Because I'm going to fix it. So it's too big to be little, too little to be big, being that middle child.
Let's talk about maximizing your strength and resilience. When chasing my 1,000-pound squat, I made my own supplements out of necessity to help push my body to its physical limits. So I founded Buildfast Formula because I needed supplements that actually worked every time I trained. All our formulas are backed by peer-reviewed research and third-party informed sport tested for quality and safety. Listeners can get 10% off by using code RESILIENCE at buildfastformula.com. That's code RESILIENCE for 10% off everything at buildfastformula.com. Find your formula and feel your physicality today.
Are you a fixer in life because of that? I'm just like, I'm seeing myself in your, my personal story is, I think it's funny. People come to me like, with my kids, they're like, oh, when they get to be teenage, you're going to learn so much. I'm like, I've already been through that. Like I had custody and raised my three sisters through their teenage years. And before that, like at home, I was the one that had raised them. And when I left, things fell apart and I had to take custody. And so I had the experience of the fathering, but I found myself always trying to fix everybody's problems and things that come at them in life. Have you had that? And
that is me.
What are the pluses and minuses? Because I find I've had to try to learn not to.
Yeah, I would say that's me too, but I do give people room to fail because I know it leads to growth. So I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm a fixer, but I'm there if someone needs me. You know what I mean? And I wait for people in essence to kind of raise their hands. So I'm almost there, like I'll catch them if they fall kind of thing. But I do allow people to kind of fail because I've had to fail in order to grow. So I learned that early on as well. So I would say I'm a fixer, but I'm definitely a nurturer.
Yeah, that's that's the best way. I can see that why it makes you such a great coach as a whole. And with that, how did you end up falling into, or maybe not falling? Let's change that. In your childhood and in your life, when did wellness and the personal development, what were some of the defining moments for you that caused you to be on the path that you're on as a profession?
I'm gonna take you way back. So
okay, let's do it.
My mother grew up playing softball. My dad grew up boxing professionally, nationally, all over the UK. So fitness has been, I think, in my DNA for a long time, but I've always been plus size. I've always been a plus size girl. I remember as young as being 6 years old, I went to a ballet class, and as soon as I entered the class, the teacher was like, you should probably do jazz or tap because you're too big to be here. Like I literally have a memory of her saying to me at 8 years old, like, why are you even in this class? I remember going home and telling my grandmother what she said. And my grandmother, because I lived with my grandmother and my mom at the time, and my grandmother immediately said, you're going to be the best damn ballet dancer ever. Tamara, you go in there, you point your toes. So she sent me right back. I went right back, and I remember just being the best in the class. So that then led me to doing a little bit more of jazz and tap, and I did ballet. And then when I got a little bit older, I started playing basketball, softball. Those are the things that got me out of my shell because I was very shy in elementary school and middle school or so. But that kind of got me out of my shell getting into sports. Just realizing that it doesn't matter that I'm plus size. I can still do these things. I was the best damn power forward, and I played volleyball as well. And I was a Cala champion.
So always breaking the norms from very early. I love it.
Yep, always breaking the norms.
And how has that transitioned into the personal development aspects, more the holistic side of the work that you do with, getting people, empowering people and mindset, or is it, interlaced?
So I don't think it's interlaced. I think that part of my life came through survival mode for me. So I was married for a really long time and kind of lost myself in between having kids. So again, I took care of kids before I had kids. Then I immediately went into a marriage and had kids. I never really had like a break in between just being Tamara Walcott. When I moved to Maryland, we moved here from the Virgin Islands because my brother almost died and we had to come somewhere with better healthcare systems in order to make sure that he survived. So when we moved here, we all lived together. I've never lived alone. So it wasn't until I was divorced and my kids were going to their dads over the weekend, I was standing there, now 150 pounds heavier than I've ever been, and I didn't recognize myself when I looked in the mirror. So it was either fight or flight, and I've always been a fight type of person, and I've always been that person prior to the weight gain. I've always been that person to look at something, figure out what I need to do, and go for it. You know what I mean? So I looked in the mirror and I just decided to change myself from the inside out. I ended up through my difficult marriage and divorce being a food addict, and I went to food in order to kind of make me feel good. You know what I mean? To take away the pain and the discomfort and the feeling of just being lonely and all that good stuff. And I decided to just go to a gym. I walked in one day. I walked into a Taibo kickboxing class because they had Taibo there first. And that's what I did for a couple weeks. But then after that, I went to this, it was like a group session of like dumbbell training. So once I realized like, oh my God, I like this stuff. Like I was 415 pounds, but I still was that girl that walked in with a light that people looked at me and said, dang, if she could do a push-up on her knees, so can I. Because there were men in there 3 times smaller than me that couldn't do what I was doing. So I realized I was a light for them as well. And that in turn continued to light my fire and push me forward.
I love that. How long ago was this?
So that was in 2016. So the first day I walked into the gym and lost my first 100 pounds in that year. From 2016 to 2017, I lost 100 pounds. So I was 415 pounds and I lost 100 pounds.
Dang. And then once you got into the strength training side, you just like, I cannot believe how fast you accelerated in that realm. But I can see it with both your background and just the passion that you put into your lifting. I don't know that people realize like how much I think about lifting as a lot of people want to do it's effort based, and the amount of emotion that you can put into it is going to deliver results. And I think too many people try to take out their negative emotions, on the weights, and it should be the party. Like it can be a positive and uplifting, amazing thing. And I'm rambling here. Can you fill in the blanks
it's
for me?
good. No, it definitely makes sense. Yeah, it definitely makes sense because I remember the first time I looked into and it wasn't until I finally like going into the powerlifting gym and seeing these people with chalk, like at the Virgin Islands, we didn't have any of that. I didn't know what weightlifting and powerlifting was. Like we didn't have any of that, but I knew I was damn strong, right? And my first squat was ugly as hell. I have a video of it, ugly as hell. And it was a box squat at that, right? So I remember meeting my coach for the first time because I kept going there for months and seeing the same people, same faces. And I'm like, is this a thing? Being the social butterfly that I am, talking to everyone. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Is this a thing? And they're like, oh yeah, we compete. So after a couple months, my coach started seeing me still coming. He wasn't my coach at the time. And he was like, hey, I can train you. And I was like, all right, well, let's try it. So then by 2018, I did my first meet in Baltimore. So I trained from 2017 to 2018, did my first competition, came in first place. I think I had a 386 pound squat. I had a 396 deadlift and like a mid 200 bench or something. But I came in first place and it was pretty neat.
Awesome.
And that was it. I walked home with a medal and I was hooked.
I remember my first meet was in 2000, and it was supposed to be a one-time thing, right? I'm like, I'm just going to do it because I'm strong, and I'm not going to be a bodybuilder because I don't seem to be as big as I am strong. And one-time thing. I'm going to go do it. And that day I went, okay, so this is what I'm going to be doing for most of the rest of my life. It's like, yeah, okay. Just that moment of awareness. So something like that for you?
I think what it was for me is it was that opportunity every single time in life to walk in a door and do something that I thought I couldn't do. So it was proving to myself, and I was like, I looked at it from a perspective of, if you can take care of control of your life here, there, what can't you take control of? You know what I mean? You can write
Mm-hmm.
your own narrative. You've come back from losing 100 pounds. You're now living alone and you're going in the right direction. You're loving on yourself. So it was that constant coming back. I couldn't do it this week, but I did it that week. I couldn't do it this week. And just that constant climb is what I enjoy. Because I'm also a thrill seeker, like I'm very adventurous. I'm very outgoing. I'm that girl that sat at the front of the or sits to the front of the roller coasters, but then I got a point in my life where I was too big to even get on. I remember walking there with my daughter and couldn't get on, So just being that thrill seeker, that's kind of what got me coming back and wanting more.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I love the lessons that you're taking from the weight room and putting into life. And I wish more people could understand, like, what you can really learn in that environment about yourself and what you can teach yourself in that environment to persevere over the time that you walk into the gym and it's not always PRs. You can barely see the change, but a year later you look back and you're like, holy shit. And we get so caught up in like, what can I do right now? And it's just a matter of like, it feels like, it may feel like nothing's moving, and that's okay. Just stick with the plan. Don't jump to the next thing. Don't just go.
Yeah. And I think it was the beauty of having, and that's why it inspired me to be a coach, because it was the beauty of looking at my coach and looking at all his clients and realizing that we weren't on the same program. Like I remember walking into the gym with some of the people that I knew had the same coaches, and they were all doing the same thing. I don't know if you remember the year the Larsner press came in, like literally 2 or 3 years ago, everyone was doing Larsner press. And I was like, hey coach, why am I not doing this? He's like, because you don't need it. It's not something you need to do to correct one of your weaknesses. So you are fine. So I was doing all these basic stuff, the same things over and over, block pulls, deficits, maybe chains every now and again. The one thing he really introduced to me was the SSB bar, which was the Kabuki SSB transformer bar. You know what I mean? And I mean, that's really the only thing, if I look in the last couple years, that I've introduced into my training that's different. So I think it's important when you have a coach just to make sure that they focus on what your weaknesses are and not what everyone else is doing.
Yeah. It's funny how things should be individualized because we're individuals.
Yeah.
So
I know.
funny how that works. Now, I know you've been lifting with the transformer quite a bit of late because you had a pretty major injury, and we're pec twinsies, I guess. Which side was yours?
Left side pec.
We are twinsies.
We're twinsies.
Yeah. Oh, see, mine's covered by mostly tattoo, but
I'm gonna get a tattoo over mine, but you can see mine a little bit. Let me see. I don't know if you can see it on the side right there. Yeah.
So, yeah,
but
that's a fun one, huh? Yeah.
Oh my God, that first month was crazy. But go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, for me, that was what propelled me to what I became as a lifter, though. It set such a fire on me to come back from that, to overcome it, that I was told I would never be as strong as I was before, that, I would, so many things. And I came back from that on fire. My first meet, 9 months post-surgery, I set the 4th highest all-time total. And that was back in the geared lifting days, so it was a squat suit, but still
amazing.
It was compared against everybody else that had the same. And yeah, that was my first 1,000-pound squat, but it was in a suit. At that meet, it was the same one Donnie Thompson totaled 3,000 at.
Oh,
but
wow!
I did that at 9 months post surgery when I wasn't even supposed to be released to lifting heavy yet.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. That was back in
Oh my gosh.
2010 or something, I think. 2010, 2012, somewhere in there. So,
Wow. Yeah, my doctor did a pretty good job, and I think maybe now, I guess, every year or 10 years at a time, like technology and the way they do things get better and better. So when it did happen, I had Phil Herndon actually trains at my gym too. He had the exact same thing happen exactly 2 weeks prior to him competing, just like me. So pretty much just having that reassurance of people around me, I never really got scared. My doctor was used to that, and he was like, "You'll be back in no time." Bob, who owns the gym at Exile, kept seeing that for years. He's like, "You'll be back in no time." What I'm dealing with now, though, is that constance of, you can do this, maybe don't do that, you can do this. So I'm hyper aware of my body,
mm,
but I'm looking at it from a positive perspective of, I've always been very hyper aware of my body and what when things don't feel right, but I used to ignore it. Now I'm like, all right, let me go see the PT. So I haven't quite turned into like a hypochondriac, but now I'm like, all right, this is nagging, let me take a look at it. This is nagging, let me back off for a minute versus just go, go, go. So I'm using that now as a tool to kind of push past the fear.
yeah. It's interesting how you can take something negative like that and turn it into something else. Like for me, that's what set me on my route of doing clinical continuing education for almost a decade and really specializing in biomechanics and taking my engineering background and then applying it into that realm and really becoming how most people know me today is a result of a traumatic, career ending at the time surgery actually completely ended up transforming my life for the better.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be completely the opposite. And I just want to share that as a message to you and to anyone else that may be listening to this podcast, that everything is there's hidden opportunities. And I don't want to say that in such a way that people take that and go, oh, well, I was a victim of child abuse. I was just like, what's the positive of all these things? Like, you can't take away the negative of those things, but they happened and they're in the past. They're in the rearview mirror. And
Mm-hmm.
we've got this big giant
Mm-hmm.
windshield in front of us. We can still use
Mm-hmm.
whatever we can from things to become stronger, to
Mm-hmm.
become more resilient. And I know that for a fact. If you look at like the ACE score of trauma, I, I passed that test. I aced it. I got everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't necessarily have to destroy you. It's not good.
Yeah.
But there's always some way that you could use things and leverage things in some manner. And
Yeah.
um,
But you're looking also at a child abuse survivor here too. It's something that I haven't really shared with the world, but it's something that I have been through in the younger years of my life. So I feel like everything, and I think it's from the West Indian background. Like my grandmother was the matriarch of our family, and they were the ones that allowed me. And it wasn't anything, thankfully, that I had to keep a secret. Once it came out, it was out. But those things, I think, have allowed me in life to be the person that I am today. I wish those things never happened to anyone or to anyone at all in
yeah,
life, but it's the truth of the world. Unfortunately, right now we just have to try to protect ourselves and our kids as best as we can. Um, but I will definitely say everything that I've been through, every single thing that I've been through in my life, has created the woman that you guys are looking at today. And and
well,
and that's why I think I've always been fight and not flight. Yeah.
you inspire me, Tamara. Like, I truly love seeing what you're doing and the fact that you're going out of the way and sharing your messaging to help others and inspire so many people. It's just absolutely amazing. So, yeah.
Thank you.
So thanks for sharing as much of your story around that. Um,
Thank you.
what what has the experience has been with like some of the larger like media that you've been in? So for a lifter, like you've been killing it. Ellen, I've seen you on other news programs. Like I mentioned in the intro, you're TEDx speaker. Uh, yeah, yeah. What's that been
It has
like?
been it has been a whirlwind First of all, I want to start by saying this because I want people to understand that the power of putting positive energy and manifesting the things you want in your life, they may not come, like the road to success is not straight and narrow. The road is bumpy. There's twists and turns. You might fall in a pothole. There might be a crater that you got to climb down to climb out and get over on the other side. But you have to still manifest those things. And you have to trust the things that you are believing in, even if you can't touch it and you can't see it. From the time I was a little girl, Chris, I used to tell my family that I was going to be on In Living Color. I was going to be on Saturday Night Live. I was just going to be on TV. The road to getting there, I did not think I would get there by way of powerlifting at all, by breaking an all-time world record at all. So when Ellen kept calling my phone, Ellen, the producer on Ellen, kept calling my phone, I literally would see the number, hang up, see the number, hang up. The day that the call actually came in and I finally clicked over, I was on the phone with my kid's dad going back and forth about something. And literally, I'm like, you know what? I was getting tired of that conversation. So I was like, hold on. So I click over and I was like, hello. And it's like, this is the producer from the Ellen show. And I'm like, this has got to be a joke. What are you talking about? And it was literally a week after breaking the all-time world record. Not even a week. They called me, and 2 weeks later, I think I was on the show. So
That was cool.
It's been a whirlwind.
Yeah, they did a great setup on the show too. Like that was so cool watching. So yeah.
It was, but let me tell you, that was the most stressful 2 weeks of my life because my manager had no clue what powerlifting was. Like, my lawyer at the time really had no idea what powerlifting was. The producer was like, oh, we can get you some bumper plates. And I was like, nah. So I think I gave them different companies. I gave them Texas. I gave them Kabuki. They reached out to whoever to get the bars, to get the plates, to get the platform set up. Then my coach caught COVID, so he couldn't move with me, or he couldn't fly with me to go on the show, which he was so bummed out about. But then everything happens for a reason. So at that time, David Douglas is one of my longtime friends via Instagram. When I first wanted to be strong, I would look at all these different people. A lot of them were on the West Coast. And I remember reaching out to David before I even was lifting. And he was like, you know what, Tamara, you're pretty green. I would advise you get a local coach. And that's how I ended up with my coach, Dan. So when I knew I was coming to Ellen, I called him. I was like, David, you're not going to believe this. I know you live not too far from the Ellen studio. It might be like an hour drive, but do you want to do this with me? He showed up. He was there. He hyped me up. He got me ready. And yeah, that's all she wrote when it came to Ellen. And pretty much the same thing happened with Project Rock and Alta. Project Rock, I posted at the Ghost Clash when I've never dropped a deadlift bar. And I dropped a bar at the Ghost Clash in 2022 or something like that. Yeah, like 2022. And I posted a picture of my hands all bloody because a week before, DJ had posted his hands all cut up and chalky from working out. And I was like, look at this, DJ. So I found out after getting onto Project Rock that they've been following me since I broke the all-time world record. And that when I tagged DJ, Danny, who is DJ's ex-wife, sent it to DJ. And that's kind of how all that happened. And
that's so cool. It's such a small world too. Like it's like the days you're like, I don't know. It's just that's so cool. I love it.
But all of that, I'm telling you right now, Chris, has been a product of me manifesting because I used to talk about DJ a lot. Like I have a picture and I have a picture and then I have a journal that I wrote back in 2017 when I came up with my brand. And one of the things I said, Under Armour started from nowhere. Nike started from nowhere. This started from nowhere. My brand's going to be something. And then boom, I'm working with Under Armour. Like, what are the odds? That was manifested back in 2016.
You know, there's people that kind of trash talk the, manifesting, but I see it as it opens your eyes when you truly believe in something. There's so many intricate ways of connecting dots that you're able to find the pathways. It's not necessarily your mind actually bringing something into existence so much as your beliefs opening your eyes to the potential that is out there. And I think that so much is blocked from us, from our fear, from our perceptions, the insecurities, expectations put on us, or expectations that we feel are on us from our family, our work, wherever, our environment. And when we can separate that and open that view, the world is so limitless from the amount of avenues that you can chase and realize that. And I say that as, a kid that grew up in the sticks in the wilderness that's able to do the things that I'm able to do today.
And same here. I came from 84 square miles of an island, and I'm here doing things that I thought that I would never do.
So that is, to me, that is manifesting, or it's taking those fears away and having that positive mindset, because fear is a killer. The thought of adhering to like what other people expect of you. And so when I see in you, and what I wanted to have you on is so much like owning yourself, being able to, remove other people's perceptions and just be confidently walking in this world, regardless of that. And that is just such amazing strength. That's so much stronger than an all-time world record if you do it and you're real with it. And so I love seeing that. And at the same time, like, talking about, like, a lot of people go, oh, it must be amazing. You're in this meeting, you're doing all this, and life is still fucking hard. Before we got started, life's right. I'm dealing with stuff right now
all the time.
I'm sure life's. And
yes,
you said something about crawling down into a pit, and that is the thing, is that happens no matter what happens. Sometimes you get pushed off, and so if you don't purposely jump off or climb down into that pit, life is still going to life, and you're going to get pushed over that edge sometime. And you just need to, you don't wallow in it. You just recognize, like, hey, this is where I'm at right now. This is bad. But you know what? When I'm on Project Rock later, like, it's going to be freaking awesome. When I'm looking back, look, I climbed from the pit of navigating out of this bad divorce, like the dealing, my upbringing, like, look where I am. And that is going to be amazing when I tell the story of when I'm on the other side of this. And that's what you got to focus on if you find yourself in that pit, and is just like acknowledge it, and then, celebrate it. It's time for a deadlift party, like.
All right, guys, we talk a lot about mental resilience on this podcast, but let's talk about another type of resilience. That's movement resilience. We want to move well, recover better, and do it for life. And it starts with your feet. And you can start today with Neboso. Neboso is a sensory technology company founded by a functional podiatrist. And all their products feature a texture to stimulate, strengthen, and awaken your feet. I use their splay toe spacers and Neuroball to release my feet at the end of every day. They also have these textured recovery socks that feel like a mini massage when you walk around. If you're looking for an effective way to bulletproof your feet, head to Neboso.com, that's Naboso.com, and use code RESILIENCE for 20% off.
Yeah. You know what I started doing? I think one of the biggest things for me, Chris, in the beginning of my fitness journey, I started telling myself, and it was these mantras in my head, like what you put in, what you get out. Your body's your vessel. Your mind is your temple. Like, treat it well. And I started telling myself these things over and over again. But I think one of the biggest things that I poured into that as well is, like, remember when you were a kid and you knew not to touch, like, you didn't know that you shouldn't touch the stove, that you would get burned because it's hot. We still have to live life fearlessly like that. In order to get the greatest reward and enjoy those joys of life, you're going to have to go through the hard stuff to really appreciate the good stuff. And you have to get past that fear. You might get burned along the way. You might fall short. You may stumble, and it'll be harder for you to get up time over time. But I really told myself when I was going through my divorce, like, all right, you've been living in fear for so long. You've been living a fear of looking in the mirror. You've been living a fear of of failing and not getting up and trying so you can be back to where you were because you were an athlete all your life. And I just had to decide, like, you know what, no matter if I get burned, no matter if I fall, no matter if I if I fail, I'm never gonna stop trying, because as a kid, we walked through life fearlessly. And that's something that I wanted to get back. And that's something that I took back. And I decided I would never let go again. Ever.
Take it back. I love it. I was actually going to ask you to walk us through your approach to goal setting and achievement in lifting in life. And I think you just hit that. So
that was it. That is it. I live life fearlessly. Yeah.
I love it. What are you tackling fearlessly right now?
Oh my gosh. Aside from the pec tear, I think every time I lay down on that bench, that's one of the things that I'm wondering, like, I felt so good when I was benching. When that 391 was in my hand, it felt perfect. So now every time I lay on that bench, I'm like, how do you feel? And in my mind, I'm like, well, it felt good when it tore. So I can't even use that as an indicator. So right. I think that's one of the things that I am dealing with right now. And then not trying to put the weight on the good shoulder, because now that the repaired shoulder is actually the good shoulder. So I'm like, no, Tamara, distribute it evenly. So I think those are some of the things that I'm tackling, this back and forth in my mind that you can, but maybe you can't. Maybe something's going to go wrong. Don't worry about that. So there's a lot of back and forth. And then also just not being able to do what I love for so long. Like, I got injured 2 weeks prior to one of the biggest meets and most important meets in my life, because I wanted to do that meet in honor of my coach who passed away the year before. You know what I mean? I definitely had some unfinished business, some things that I promised him that I was going to do for myself. So I think just kind of dealing with that and coming back from that has been a roller coaster ride for me. Not being able to be on the platform doing what I love, but still understanding that everything happens in the right time. And I'll get there when I get there.
Nice. What about on the professional front? Can we talk about your event going on this fall? Can we, like, what else you got going on here?
So right now, I rolled out my online coaching platform. So I just used to do in-person coaching. One of the biggest things for me was I wanted all my clients for a long time to come to me word of mouth. So it doesn't matter. Like, I didn't care about the online stuff. I didn't care about, like, just doing advertising. I wanted to build the beginning of my empire word of mouth. Because if someone's telling you that I'm great and someone takes their time out of their day to say, go to my coach, that meant a lot to me. But I decided, all right, I can't gatekeep this. I'm going to go ahead and put it out there, because one thing that I'm really good at is inspiring people. One thing that I'm really good at is pulling out what people already have inside. So I'm really excited about the whole online coaching platform that I'm doing. Also kicked off this past weekend, my Strength is My Sexy Tour. The first kickoff event is in honor of Dan. So I just did that and I had an amazing turnout. His birthday is actually in April, so that's why I do it in April. My birthday is in December, so I award all the athletes that get awarded in December. So just trying to tie that in for the year.
Yep.
And then I have so many other things coming available, some that I can't say, but I did disclose at my competition this past weekend that I will be setting my next record on my own platform at a competition called the Walcott Records, a competition of strength that is going to be held on August 31st in Omaha, Nebraska. And I'm super excited about that venture.
Awesome. Well, we're hoping the Kabuki is going to be there sponsoring this event. And we'll have some kick-ass Kabuki bars to have in your hand to rip some records with. So let's go.
Listen,
yeah.
I love that bar. You have no idea. Like, we have one at my gym, and as soon as I walk in, I'm like, where is it? I love that bar. Yeah.
I can't remember when I reached out to you, because I didn't know if you knew Kabuki or me or whoever, and I think
we've reached out to each other, and that's the one thing that I'm like, you know what? I remember, like I told you the thing with your mom, and I'm really good at remembering, no matter where it is, if people are going through something or just people in life, and you've always been a kind spirit, and from the time that I've ever interacted with you, even though short, you've always been so kind. So I really appreciate you more than I think you know.
Well, thank you. Well, tell us more about your approach to the coaching, the online coaching, and what does that look like? What do you? Yeah.
So right now, I mainly like my target is women. I want to inspire as many women as I can, especially moms. So I have this new thing called Power Mommy program that I'm doing. But I just remember being a mom and getting lost in the laundry, getting lost in the dishes, getting lost in the school programs, getting lost in the kids going to their event. And in the beginning of my journey, I had a lot of mom guilt. Like I literally felt so bad leaving my kids at home when I was trying to save my life. And I'm like, all right, are you going to feel bad leaving them home for an hour or two versus leaving them for the next 20 years of your life if you're not here because you're not taking care of your health and not even just physically, but mentally as well? So I coach a lot of women that are remnants of where the old Tamara started from. I coach a lot of women right now that want to break records within the powerlifting sport. And then I just coach a lot of women that want to get consistent because I think one of the things people see the records, they see the physical changes that I've made, but they don't see that I'm a more organized and structured person. They don't see that I have to fuel my body properly in order to move the weight that I need to move. So now I've created this healthy relationship with food. Now I'm not just eating to eat. I'm eating to stay satiated, and I'm eating whole food. So I'm treating all the things, or I'm training women and treating this in a way of, this is a lifestyle. It's not a diet. This is a lifestyle. It's not anything hard. You just got to implement good things and more good things. This is not a relationship where you have to give up doing XYZ for everyone else, but you do have to make sure that you're a little bit selfish in life and take care of you first so you can take care of the other people in your life. So that's my approach when it comes to coaching, just coaching from the inside out.
Wow, that is. I can't speak to that because I'm not a woman and I'm not a mother, but all the core people in my life are that. I'm surrounded by my closest relationships are women. And I see this so often where they are taking and giving of themselves everywhere, but then being guilty of taking the time to go get a coffee by themselves, or these small little things are wrought with like all this internal guilt when all they're doing all the time is, giving in their relationship, in their family, in their work. And, so from an outside perspective, because again, I'm not going to try to speak from that position, but it's something that, I love seeing people be able to overcome and see how much positive change that ends up bringing them and how much better they are for everyone when they're taking the time and effort for themselves. And it's just so that's an outside perspective, not speaking from that place at all. But so absolutely love to hear that. So yeah. And you speak about this. I'd encourage people. There's some long videos on YouTube of your TEDx speech, and I can't remember the one. There's Pat. You've got a the
Petals of a Powerlifting Mom. That one.
Yes, the Petals of a Powerlifting Mom. Yeah. So yeah.
The Petals of a Powerlifting Mom was extremely important to me because I don't even remember. I think my publicist at one time, we were in New York at New York Fashion Week, and she's like, Tamara, if you could be one thing in the world, what would it be? And I was like, a dandelion. Like out of nowhere, I said it, right? But when you really think of a dandelion, Chris, it seems so useless. Like anyone that has allergies are like, get that thing out of here. But a dandelion does so much. You can use dandelion for its medicinal purposes. If you blow a dandelion never dies. Their petals go all over, and they end up growing dandelions everywhere else. Their roots keep the soil together. There's so much benefits, and I look at myself as such.
They're infectious, just like you.
Exactly, and they're all over. No matter where you go, you're gonna see a dandelion somewhere. So, that was very important to me. Just kind of sharing my story on that level. and just getting a little bit deeper.
Well,
because at the end of the day, I don't really look like the athlete. Like, you see me in the grocery store, like people see me in the grocery store now and they know who I am. But Tamara, post breaking all-time world records in 2021, doesn't look like the athlete. You know what I mean? I don't look like an athlete at face value, but I certainly am. So I'm changing the narrative, right? So I'm just creating my own narrative and making my own way.
Well, with that, do you experience anything from a negative within our industry or out still as it relates to people's perceptions that they may have around
every now and again?
Is?
I think one of the biggest things that I always get is mass moves mass. But at 415 pounds, I couldn't even squat 135 pounds. I couldn't even deadlift 215 pounds. I have videos of me not being able to bench 135 pounds when I weighed almost 400 pounds. So it's like, mass definitely doesn't move mass. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's so much more. What kind of mass are we talking about? Because let me tell you, the amount of muscle that Tamara has sitting in front of you today is nothing compared to the 275 that I was 3 years ago. The 275 now is a brick fucking house. You know what I'm saying? So it's so different. And I just respect everyone, no matter where they are. Strong is strong. No matter your body weight, strong is strong. And yeah, I want to just bring strong is strong back, because at the end of the day, someone who weighs 2 times less than me. I mean, look at Denise, man. Like, she fucking killed that this weekend at the Ghost Splash. Like, amazing. Beltless at that. Like, strong and strong. So I think that's one of the things that I want for people, especially the women that look like me, the little girls that look like me who grew up chubby all their lives. Strong is strong. Beautiful is beautiful. That's why I did my Strength is My Sexy tour. So yeah, that's kind of, So I do get some negative insight, but there's so much more positive than negative.
Yeah, it's just interesting too. I mean, there's still like negativity sometimes around women lifting and having muscle in general or being strong, but there's also just so many people with so much insecurities out there that just push that outwards. Like, my daughters, like, they respect a strong woman. They train with me. I was actually my daughter's birthday. My middle one turned 12 on Sunday. Mm-hmm. But before a birthday party on Saturday morning, we went out and did hill sprints. Hill sprints in the morning. So it was a lot of fun. Yes, I'm here. Oh no. Okay.
Are we there?
So yeah, we did hill sprints in the morning before her birthday party. So that was a lot of fun. Did I lose you, Tamara?
Nice.
Okay.
Are you there?
Yes.
Are you there? Okay, we're there.
Yep. It's we're doing local recording. So tell me, what is? Can you share a memorable success story from your coaching career?
Oh my gosh, a memorable success story. There's so many, but let me pick one. Okay, so let me pick one. So I think my most memorable right now, that just gives me chills when I think about it, is one of my newer clients. There's a couple. There's 2 of my newer clients. One of them, his name is, it's a guy, and I think one of the things that surprised me at face value is that people are coming from different ends of the spectrum. So I have people coming to me to gain weight and put on muscle. And then I have people coming to me as well that may not have use of their legs, but they want to get stronger. And I'm like, my reach has been so much further than I thought it would be. And when I talk to these people and I ask them, like, well, how did you find out about me? Or why do you think that I would be a good fit to be your coach? And it all comes from that mental shift. It all comes from, Tamara, you've went through a mental shift. You've believed in something and brought it to reality. And I know you can help me get there. So one of my clients who has no use of his legs has been trying to put on 20 pounds for the last 4 years, has already put on 15 pounds of good muscle. And that's just from that consistency, and just from that person checking in, and just from that person saying, hey, I haven't seen any workouts, and someone truly giving a shit. because at the end of the day, you can find a coach that's going to take your money every single day, but how many coaches are out there are truly going to care? And I think that is because I had a coach that gave a shit. You know what I mean? I had a coach that was checking on me if he didn't hear from me in the last 48 to 72 hours. So I think that's one of the most memorable for me, and the most, that definitely brings me joy. Just knowing that people come to me for that as well. Not just trying to go the opposite route, which is to lose weight, but have people trying to gain weight and muscle as well.
And it sounds like Dan was an amazing coach. I can tell he had such a great impact on you, and it's so awesome for you to do so much that you've done for the memory, for his memory and for his family. So that's yeah. In your
Yeah, he was.
You have spoken so much about the positive mindset. Can you share some practical tips on how to cultivate a positive mindset? And
I think one of the biggest things for me on cultivating and the importance of having a positive mindset is I do a lot of affirmations. So it's important to tell yourself things and to say it out loud, right? It's important to say and look at yourself and say, you know what, I can do this. I am strong. I am powerful. I am beautiful. Some days you may not feel that way, but you still have to love yourself first. Because at the end of the day, all you have in that moment, sometime other than God, is yourself. Chaos could be going on around you, but as long as you continue to build a strong foundation on affirmations and just telling yourself these things, you're going to start to believe it. Like if you tell yourself you're an asshole, you're going to believe that you're an asshole. But if you tell yourself you're the next best thing since sliced bread, then you will be the next best thing. So that's my mindset for me. And I pour that into my kids also. And another thing that's important is for mothers, because I train a lot of women as well, is our kids they're watching, man. Like I can show my kids now better than I can tell them. And I realize that at the end of the day, communication, most of it is nonverbal, right? Our kids learn based on the things that they see. And the mental shift for me is, all right, how am I going to show instead of tell my kids that the impossible is possible? I have to show up for me every day. I have to show up for the people in my life every day. I have to be able to show up for them in a positive way. So those are some of the things that I do to kind of affirm where I'm going and who I am.
Yeah, you could sit there all day and say you can accomplish anything that you want in the world, and if you're, being late to work,
literally just sitting job, there doing nothing,
not doing anything, versus like your kids are going to see and be so proud if you're tearing down the world and just ripping it up. Like your kids know that, they see it, and they're going to be proud and telling everybody about like that and want to be just like their mama, just like their papa. Like there's no better tool than walking in this world with your best. And in fact, I find that if you're in one of those struggle moments where you're trying to like what would do better or be better, like taking just a second perspective as a parent, then it's easy. Like, hey, what if my kids were here watching me? What choice would I make? But if you're not a parent, like how would I want to be perceived by myself if I look back in the future on this moment? If I look back on this memory and go, that action, what did I take? Am I proud of that? That can really shift your perception quite a bit. And I think that's a lot of what I hear coming from the mindset that you're taking here, and I absolutely love it.
Thank you.
Man, we have covered so much during the course of this. Are there areas that you want to make sure that we cover that we haven't, or things that you want to make sure our audience knows about from today?
One of the biggest things is with this competition that I'm putting on in August. I am planning, because one thing that I said when I broke the all-time world record back in 2021 for the very first time, standing there, a little West Indian island girl thinking that she couldn't do this, is I said, you know what? We ended up on SportsCenter. We ended up on ESPN. Like we put so much, we being the athletes, train off season, on season, 12 to 18 week preps, putting our bodies through crazy things. I shouldn't be the only one getting brand deals when it comes to powerlifting. I feel like powerlifting is a sport. We are athletes. And I said back in 2021, Dan, I'm going to make sure that we end up, if cornhole could be on ESPN and it could be a special or something that they broadcast and watch, like, hey, powerlifting is going to be, I might be 80 years old, Chris, but I'm telling you right now, there's going to be a constant of powerlifting on ESPN because I will not stop kicking indoors to make that happen. Okay, I will not stop using my light to shine light on other lifters. And that's one of the things that I want to do when I do this competition. It is going to be unheard of. I cannot wait to share with you guys the venue, the sponsors, like it's going to be like Maryland Casino Live, MGM Lives kind of vibe, okay? It's going to be concert like Mary J. Blige, 50 Cents kind of vibe. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be like we are going to get the spotlight, and all the pros that I'm inviting to this event will not be paying entry fees. There are going to be other spots open for other lifters as well, because I want to give the Tamara back in the day the opportunity to lift, because there might be Sally or Jim in their garage right now breaking records that we don't know about, but they have to qualify to get in. No, we want to see them now. Let's see them now. So that's the show that I'm going to put on come August 31st.
I'm getting excited sitting here in my seat.
It's going to be grand. It's going to be grand. Like
I can't wait.
It's going to be grand. That's all I can say.
All right.
It's going to be like the Sheffield coming to the United States.
All I know is there's going to be some custom kabuki bars there, so that's for damn
Let's
sure.
go!
I'm going to be there,
best.
and I'm going to watch some badass lifting. So
yes. I'm excited.
That's awesome. When I hear you say that you're going to make that and get there on ESPN, you're going to be kicking in those doors, like, I believe it. If you're setting your mind to something, I think that it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. I'm telling you right now. Happen. You guys heard it first on the show.
All right. Well, where can people find you at, follow you at, learn about your coaching, all this good stuff?
Everything that funnels into my coaching, just go to www.tamarawalcott.com. Everything, my Instagram's funneled through there. My coaching app is funneled through there. My current coach, Connor, now has joined the team. So he's taking on some clients through my coaching app as well. So we're taking on bodybuilders, powerlifters, people that want to get strong, burn fat, or just people that want a lifestyle change. So you can find me at www.tamarawalcott.com.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. And so excited to get this podcast out and get it shared. So excellent.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me.